Hey guys, this is Leigh with Steel Ribbon Farms. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys about ordering your seeds, really, for your garden. And I'm gonna share with you guys a conversation that I had with my partner at work, because he bought a homestead, and this is the advice that I give everybody when they're trying to start a garden or they're thinking about starting a garden. And this is what I tell everybody, and so I'm going to tell you too. When you are starting a garden, I want you to, and now is the time to buy seeds. Okay, there is no better time to buy seeds than right now, and the reason is because seed companies can only sell seeds for the year that they're in or the following year, right? And so you have a lot of companies that are currently putting their seeds on sale. It's also Black Friday, so they're doing a ton of 20% off, 30% off site-wide. Now's a great time to buy seeds. And so I tell people, if you do not like tomatoes, you do not like ketchup, you do not like, pasta sauce, red pasta sauce, you don't like barbecue sauce, you don't like, fresh tomatoes, you don't like diced tomatoes, do not plant a ton of tomatoes. Don't do it. I don't care what the garden that you have in your head is, but if you are not going to eat the tomatoes, do not put them in your garden. Right? Don't waste the space. But if you come to me and you say, hey, I only like bell peppers, and I really don't, I only like to cook them. I don't really like to eat, raw bell peppers. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, do you like barbecue sauce? And they're like, yeah. You like hot sauce? Yeah. You like this? Yeah. All right, cool. Plant twice what you think you'd eat. And they're like, what? And basically what it is you don't know if you like something or don't like something if all you have experience in is the grocery store. Okay, that's it. And the reason for that is because the grocery store is only going to have 2, 3, 4 varieties of vine tomatoes, right? That's what they have. But there are thousands, it may not be thousands, but there's hundreds of different varieties of tomatoes. Okay, literally a bunch of different kinds of tomatoes. And if all you have been exposed to is tomatoes from the grocery store, well, to quote one of my favorite YouTubers, they taste like disappointment. Grocery store tomatoes taste like disappointment. Because I don't like tomatoes. I don't like raw tomatoes, but I love red sauce. I love ketchup. I love, barbecue sauce. I love basically cooked tomatoes. And I could never figure out why, it just Jared loves tomatoes. He'll eat them raw, he'll eat them cooked, he doesn't care. That's what he's eating. And I could never understand why. It is disgusting. And I grew my own tomatoes for the first time, and I was like, oh. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not going to sit there and eat a tomato raw out of the garden. I still don't. I have not found a variety that I will eat raw out of the garden, like a slicer, a paste or whatever. I have yet to find one. But they're delicious. I made tomato sauce with mortgage lifters, and it was the best damn tomato sauce I've ever had. Right. And we were at a friend's house because he had offered, because our garden for 2023 just tanked. And he offered for us to come over and harvest out of his garden. He's like, I'm literally about to just cut everything down and till it under. And I was like, we will be there in 30 minutes. And so we went over there and he's like, check this out. And he gave me a cherry tomato. And I was like, man, I really don't like raw tomatoes. He's like, just try it. And I was like, okay. It was one of the best cherry tomatoes I have ever had, y'all. It was so sweet. It was so good. And I was like, okay. Now, again, I won't eat a ton of them because I don't like raw tomatoes. But it opened up my eyes to a variety that I had never had. And so, another thing, and again, this is something that I've spent a lot of time talking to my work partner about. And it is just because you've had it one way your entire life does not mean that you don't like it. What it means is that you have not been exposed to anything else. Another prime example. So this year, we our green bean crop was amazing. And usually, like, I grow a couple and they kind of do okay, but they don't really do much. This year, it was amazing. And there's a burgundy bush bean that is absolutely divine. It is beautiful and it tastes good. And I'm here for it, right? So I'm talking to him about it, and he's like, well, I really don't like green beans. And I'm like, I mean, okay. I said, but why? And he said, well, they don't really taste good. They don't really taste like anything. And I was like, how have you eaten green beans? And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, have you ever had fresh green beans? And he's like, well, no. I was like, fresh out of the garden, never had a green bean. And he said, no. And I said, okay. So I said, I'm just trying to clarify. The only green bean you have ever had came out of a can. And he said, yes. And I said, I'm about to rock your world, dude. I said, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the store. You're going to get fresh green beans from the produce section. I said, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go home and you're going to get 3 slices of bacon. You're going to cut them in half, long ways. And then you're going to cut them in half. You're going to cut the strip in half, and then you're going to cut it down the middle so that you have, 12, strips of bacon. And then you're going to cut those into like 1/2 inch chunks. And then you're going to get half of an onion and you're going to dice that onion up. You're going to get your bacon cooking while you're doing the onion. Then you're going to put the onion in. You're going to wash and snap your green beans. Once the onion is mostly cooked and the bacon is mostly cooked, you're going to throw those green beans into that pan and you're going to mix them. And you're going to pan fry those green beans in the bacon grease and the onion. And he's like, that sounds amazing. And I was like, you're welcome. It's delicious. It is absolutely delicious. And it's funny because, again, our green bean crop was actually decent this year. So I canned a bunch of green beans. And a buddy of mine was nice enough to bring steaks to work. And so, we had to, cook the steaks, cook the macaroni and cheese. And then I said that I would bring green beans. And he's like, okay. So I brought my green beans that I had canned. And I'm like, oh my God, they're nasty. So I pulled them out of the water. I drained off all the water and I pan fried them and they were a little bit better, but they were so waterlogged. And I was like, this is gross. I mean, like, they tasted like green beans. I mean, they weren't gross, like, inedible gross. But after I had pan fried green beans, it was like, oh. The one thing that I've been telling, other, brand new gardeners or, people that are like, oh, I only grow, 4 tomatoes and a cucumber plant every year. And it's like, okay, well, have you tried growing anything? Do you want to grow anything else? That's the first thing. Do you want to grow anything else? No. Okay. But if you do, yeah, I'd like to grow carrots. Okay. Well, have you ever grown carrot before? Well, no. Okay. Hey, well, I want to grow peppers. Have you ever grown a pepper before? No. Do you want hot peppers, sweet peppers? Do you want this? You want that? And so the big thing that I try to get people to understand that smacked me in the face that day was just because you have spent your entire life eating corn out of a can or green beans out of a can and you don't like that does not mean that every single corn or green bean that's what it tastes like, right? And so I encourage you to, if you've got the space, like, if you don't have the space to experiment, don't experiment, right? But if you have the space, we are lucky enough that we've got, let's see. So I think by the time everything's all said and done between the kitchen garden and our big garden, we have something like 15,000 square feet of garden space. Like, it's huge. And this year, I'll get to that in another podcast. But we have the space to try things. So I have a packet of ghost peppers. Now, what am I doing with ghost peppers? Well, I am making salve. It's a pain relief and you use peppers. And I'm not going to eat the ghost peppers because I'm not insane. I mean, well, okay, I am, but not that way. And, so I tell people all the time, just because you don't love broccoli, well, you don't love broccoli from the grocery store. Grow 4 or 5 plants of a different variety, maybe you like purple broccoli. Maybe you like more of the Chinese broccoli. Maybe you like this broccoli or that broccoli. Great. Go try it. Try it. Because the cool thing is that even if you decide that you didn't like that variety of broccoli, you still grew something in your garden, and that's something to be proud of. Or you grew something in your garden, and yeah, that makes you proud, but the other thing that really, kind of gets you all excited is that you covered your soil. You gave the microbes in your soil something to eat. And so you're building your soil by putting something in it. And so maybe that gets you going. But oh God, guys, I cannot stress this enough. If you see something and you're like, and this, I think a lot of this comes down to people are like, well, it doesn't look good, so I'm not going to eat it. Or it looks good, but I don't know how to grow, or I don't know how to cook it, so I'm not going to grow it. And that is all completely understandable. But the flip side to that is that you are missing out on all of this delicious food because you're afraid, Well, what if it doesn't grow? Well, it doesn't fucking grow. Well, what if it doesn't taste good? Well, it doesn't taste good. But you tried it, right? Who cares if it doesn't taste good? I don't care. Listen, I don't care if it tastes good. At the end of the day, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I grew and cooked broccoli and my kids liked it. Cool beans. That's a win. That's a win. Or I got them to try it and they're like, Mom, this one's not that good. You need to try a different variety. Great. Done. Cool beans. And so I encourage you, and I will always encourage you to keep looking out for things that you can try, looking for things that, could potentially taste good. Again, if you don't have the garden space or you're allergic to something, okay, fine. Like that's fair. But if you've got the garden space and you're sitting there and this is, a nod to my work partner, he's talking about building all these garden beds. And I'm like, man, that's great. And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, what are you going to put in them? He's like, well, I really want to grow blueberries. okay. How many garden beds do you looking to put in? He's like, oh, I don't know, like maybe, 10, 15, 20, I don't know. And I'm like, you're going to grow 20 beds of blueberries? He's like, well, no. And I said, well, then what else are you going to put in your garden? And he goes, well, we really don't like this, or really don't like that, and we really don't like this. And I'm like, so what are you gardening for? Like, what's the purpose? Is it because you want to garden? Because that's cool. Put flowers in. That'll make you really happy. And that started this conversation of, well, do you like broccoli? Well, my wife likes broccoli. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Why don't you like broccoli? Well, it doesn't taste good. Okay. What varieties have you tried? Well, I don't know. From the grocery store. Ah, there it is. Try growing different broccolis. Even if you don't like it, you got chicken food, you got goat food, pig food, whatever. Like, you've got food. Grow it. If you've got the space, grow it, because you may find that you absolutely love it. And how cool is that?